Hello, my sewing friends. This is Friday Sews. I'm Jen, and this clearly is not my sewing room, it's my lanai, and I'm out here for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that my sewing room is a disaster. It's a disaster because I am painting my little roll-around cart, and so everything that was on the cart had to come off the cart and go onto the top of the table. I went in there earlier today to put some patterns away, and ADHD in motion. Whoo, baby. I completely revamped the way I store my scraps, the way I store some other projects that are in process, or refashions that I need to do, or things I've made that need altering. Yeah, I redid all of it. And so yeah, that'll teach me to go in there and try and just simply want to put patterns away. Well, I got a couple of things finished this week, so let me start with that. First was Vogue 8582, and I made View A. This is interesting. It's a Marcy Tilton pattern, and it looks interesting because it does that thing. Well, this is it, and I am iffy on whether I like it. I mean, I don't hate it, but I doubt that I'll wear it. So I'll probably give it to one of my people in my family that might wear it. It's not hard to do, but it's hard to do. I must have read the instructions for this neckline 20 times because it's odd. I thought this neckline was just a simple offset V, and it's not. You twist this right here, and then you twist it again right up here, and then once more in the back. So it forms that off-center looking kind of thing. And it isn't hard to do. You just have to look at it and think, how do I do this? So once you figure it out, it's pretty simple. That's standard for Marcy Tilton. So I don't know. I think if I made this out of something drapier, like a rayon knit, I think it might be really pretty. Also, I think it would be prettier if I did away with this slit that's on one side. You don't see this in the photo, but the side that doesn't have the drape here, this side is slit from about here down. And I don't really care for that because it pulls it in about to a little above my waist, and then everything flares out, and that's just not a very flattering look on me. And I put that together with the fact that I said before I made this that I would consider this a wearable muslin, because I'm not wild about this print either. It feels a little juvenile. It's just a knit that I had in my stash, and this is fine, but it's just a little too juvenile for me, or too old, one of the two. So I would not call this a raging success, but I would call it a success. I mean, I wouldn't call it a failure because it's a nice top, but at the same time, I don't know that it's for me. So I don't think I'll make it again unless I have some drapey kind of viscose knit. I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with the way that this hangs and the way it fits the body. So good try. I'm glad I did it, but we'll see. McCall's 6612 was another thing I finished. I made this view. This is from 1979. This is really cute because of this yoke, but the gathering that is right under the yoke that gives some ease to the bust line area is pretty much more like ease stitching, which I find a lot with this kind of thing. It's not really gathering, so it doesn't look like that. I made this out of a microfiber sheet for my daughter, and she looks like $1,000,000 in it. I was so pleased. And I made a little tie belt for her where, you know, you can wrap it around from the front to the back, and then you bring it back around to the front. It's really long, and then tie it. And then I realized that I had some Oxford cloth that was a perfect match for the print. So I made another tie out of that, and it just really sets the dress off. So it ties at the shoulder, really kind of a fun little detail. and it looks great on her. So she's really happy, I'm happy, and there's another one that I've made, and that's from my endless stash of patterns. I also attempted last night, I'm glad I did this. I cut a muslin for fit, and this was Simplicity 8875. This pattern is having a moment. A lot of people are making this pattern, and I really liked this version, which is View C with the flounce that comes down. I was, it's not a very difficult dress to do. I mean, it goes really quickly to put it together. I cut a 16, sewed it with 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and I could hardly get it on. It was like, what happened? I know that's my size. I mean, based on the finished garment measurements and everything. So I'm not sure what happened, but I went back in and I took a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I had lengthened this kind of the bodice, where it comes down, because it's an empire waist, and I always have to lengthen those, and I lengthened it too much. And so I went back in, took it up a 1/2 inch, so it was just under an inch that I had lengthened it, and still, I don't know what it was. I did put in the darts that came down under the bust line for the skirt, and then I took those out because I didn't like the way it fit. I think that it's just this silhouette is just not for me. I think it's such an adorable dress. I love it. But that whole empire waist thing, it just doesn't work for me. So that was another kind of a miss this week. So that's all I got done. Then I went in this morning and I was gonna put some patterns away. ADHD in motion. This is how it works. Probably a lot of us do this, but I went in there this morning to put away some patterns, and I ended up completely revamping the way I store my scraps, which is much more efficient. I can see what I've got, which was part of the problem. I have a much better way to store my PDF patterns, my interfacing, and I reallocated some space in my my new cubbies kind of thing, and put some things away, which is a lot of what's happening right now. It's just putting things away, finding places for things, making it the most efficient that it could be. So that solved my problem, actually, for trying to figure out what I wanted to do with covering the fronts of the cubby boxes. I just got rid of them. And now it's this color kind of, I don't know if it's color coded, or it's kind of a rainbow-ish kind of, like all the reds and pinks going one thing, and all the blues and all the greens and all the blacks and whites. I grouped them all together like that, and it just works better, and it's colorful. So yeah, I did all that, and then I decided that not only my trash cans were going to get painted white, but I think I will paint my cart. And this little thing I have that's the same color as the cart, which is like an aqua, and I want white. I want everything in there white. I don't know why, I don't know. It doesn't look clinical at all. There's a lot of texture going on in there, but I just wanted it white. So I had to take everything off the cart and put it on top of the table, and it's a disaster in there. But going through it, I found some things. I went through and, like I say, reallocated space, moved some things around, and one of the things I moved around was all of the things that either need to be altered or are refashions or are half put together and didn't work, and so I'm fixing them, things like that. Well, one of the things was this Lynn Mizono pattern. It's Vogue 1312. Previously, I made this version, and I loved it. I love the skirt on this. This skirt, you can see, it's probably easier to see this way. You cut it in squares, and the way it hangs is amazing. It's just really cool. Well, I had made it out of this blue shirting, and this is actually the skirt. And I don't know if you can see. It's like folding a sheet. You've got a corner here, and it's just really cool. And I love the stripes and the way it falls. This is a lot of, you can kind of see the way it falls. Well, the bodice on this pattern did not fit me at all. Like, just no. Well, I have a pattern that is the Eva dress from Tessuti, and that bodice fits me like nobody's business. I don't know how Tessuti drafts their patterns, but boy, they have nailed me. So I decided I would put a new bodice on. Well, unfortunately, I don't have any more of this fabric, which is tragic. You can find the stripe like this, but you can't find this color. So I thought, all right, well, you know, the bodice is just gonna have to be a different color. So I found this in my stash, which is a shirting. I think it's an actual piece of fabric, believe it or not. It's not a sheet, but it's just white with these blue pinstripes. And I thought, I think that's gonna work. I think it will. I'll probably do it this way. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. Hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, who knows, probably take it apart again and figure out something else. So that is what I'll be working on next week. And then I will also be working on another version of McCall's 4824. I keep making this. I'm gonna make this for my daughter who is expecting. Great thing to wear because it's so loose and she's not very far along. She's about 3.5 months. So she's due November 22nd. And she wanted it out of this. It's a sheet actually, but very nice, very breezy and cool. It's 100% cotton rather than microfiber. So that I will be working on. Speaking of sheets, I want all of you to know that no plants or sewing machines were harmed in my thrift haul when I was tossing things back behind me. I kind of had a sense of where everything was, so I wasn't like pitching. I was just kind of tossing, and everything fell down in front of the table, actually. Not much fell on the table. So yeah, no plants were harmed, no sewing machine was harmed, no table was harmed. It was just, as usual, a mess that I have to pick up and put away, so that was fine. The other thing I did last week, or this past week, was work on this room. This is my Lanai. And I've been trying to make it a place that I actually love being. Well, I already loved being out here, but it was very, I don't know, it was basic. It's just basic. It was just a screened-in porch. So what I did was I picked Trish, her brain, Pinky's Farm, picked her brain about how she hung curtains on her back porch. And they did it with like clothesline wire. It's plastic coated clothesline. And I had to learn about turnbuckles and ferrules and how to work those. And I mounted hooks on the ceiling and then just hung the wire from those. Well, it's interesting to try and get that right. And just as soon as I did get it right, then it was, no, that's not gonna work. Or I didn't put something on that I needed to put on it. And then you have to like tighten and loosen them and get them off the hook, and oh my gosh, it was such a pain. And it's such a pain especially because it's 90 degrees out here. Like right now it's hot, but I ended up with these beautiful curtains, and I had 4 panels that I got when I was thrifting, and they are well, they're like the panels that, like shears that you would put behind drapes. So they're more of a nylon, whereas the other, like these, are just netting, actually. You can kind of see the netting. And it's nice because I got them at IKEA and you don't have to hem them. You can just cut them. I didn't. I folded them over at the top and made a balance. So I hung the white ones, which was great because you can kind of see back here that they kind of anchor it. They beef them up a little bit. And I just, oh my gosh, every time the breeze comes through, I feel like they're breathing. Oh, it just feels so good. And I had to move the grill, which is over there, out of the way so we didn't light the curtains on fire when my husband grills, which is pretty often. And so I that necessitated turning the table. So it really does feel like a new space. We put lights up in a spiral, like Christmas lights up in a spiral. So at night when we sit out here, we turn those on and it just feels magical. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of sweat. It was a lot of hot work, but so worth it. Oh, I love being out here. This weekend for us here in the US is Memorial Day. This is when we remember those who have died in wars, in the military, in service of our country. They died so we can be free, and we appreciate that. And this weekend, Monday to be exact, is the day that we honor them. So it is kind of a somber holiday. It's a day to put flowers on the graves of our relatives and friends who have fallen, and certainly to remember them. So our question this week for Friday SEWS is, do you do anything for that? Do you put a banner outside your house? Do you wave a flag? Do you do anything like that? And for those of you who are not in the United States, I'm sure you have the same kind of a day. I think in the UK it's called Poppy Day, and maybe the same in Australia. It seems like I've looked those up, and that's what it's called. Now Canada, I don't know of any of the countries in South America, or like South Africa or anywhere in Africa. Other countries in Europe, I don't know about those days for you, but yeah, it seems like everybody has a day. Countries in Asia. So yeah, do you have anything that you do? We don't really do anything. I used to do something when I lived close to where my family is buried, like my dad and the grandparents and great uncles, people like that who have gone on. But other than that, we don't hang banners, we don't hang a flag or anything like that, but we do appreciate it when we see it. So yeah, kind of a somber holiday, but also for those who don't celebrate that holiday, we, by the way, it's a bank holiday, as you say, we get Monday off. It's the start of the summer. And traditionally in fashion here in the US, you were not to wear white shoes before Memorial Day, and you didn't wear white shoes after Labor Day. Of course, unless you lived in Florida and all you ever wear is flip-flops. I have on my white shoes today. Yeah. So anyway, let me know if you have plans for this weekend, if you celebrate in a certain way, and in the meantime, if you would like to see a playlist of all of my Friday SEWS, you can check right over here. And if you would like to see everybody else's Friday SEWS, just do a search and you'll see all kinds of people that you will come to know and love. So that'll do it for me this week. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And as an old friend of mine used to say, be God's and be good.